Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. If you're a returning subscriber, as always, guys, welcome back, and I do appreciate the support. Guys, listen. Yesterday, a verdict had been decided on this guy right here, Scott Peterson, now 60 years old. This guy right here, in 2008, was the guard that supposedly neglected his duty while he was at the school, while an active shooter was at Parkland High School and going around and shooting people. He was on the scene, and according to reports, he refused to investigate, refused to enter the building, and he kept all the officers that arrived. He instructed them to stay back 500 feet from the building while shots were being fired and people were being killed. Yesterday, he was, I guess they said he was not guilty of all the charges. And the reason why I'm doing this story is not really what he did. It's what's going to happen after this. Now, this is a 60-year-old man, but what he did is unforgivable. And I'll talk about that a little later. I'm going to play this video clip, and I'm going to tell you why I decided to do this story. And why a lot of people are on both sides of the fence make valid points, but there's also one thing that all men know to do, and that's to stand up. Check this video out, and we'll come back and talk about this.
The verdict in the Parkland High School shooting in 2018, a Florida jury has cleared a former high school security officer who had been charged with failing to confront the gunman who killed 17 people at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Ann Thompson has the details and the story.
The not guilty verdict brought a release of emotion.
The defendant is not guilty.
Both from Scott Peterson, the school resource officer at the Parkland, Florida High School, who has been criticized for failing to enter the school and confront the shooter in 2018 when 17 people were killed.
Got my life back.
And from victims' parents, like Tony Montalto, who lost his 14-year-old daughter, Gina.
Clearly, when it came time, Deputy Peterson turned tail and ran.
Overnight, Peterson spoke exclusively to our South Florida station, NBC6 News.
It's just every day, every day it's just a constant reminder of that shooting.
The now 60-year-old Peterson was a Broward County Sheriff's deputy who prosecutors charged with child neglect, negligence, and perjury. Peterson was accused of taking cover for more than 45 minutes before the killer was apprehended. He was also accused of refusing to investigate the source of the gunshots and directed other law enforcement who arrived on scene to remain 500 feet away from the building.
Scott Peterson chose not to enter, knowing that those shots were being fired, and at every time the trigger was being pulled, one of his students was down.
The defense arguing Peterson did what he could, not knowing where the bullets were coming from.
He stands there, vulnerable as you can be, risking his life, and gets on the radio and yells shots fired, because every second does matter.
Though Peterson did not take the stand in his own defense, he did tell Savannah in 2018 his conscience is clear.
You were the one person there early enough who was armed, who could have done something. How does that sit with you?
I'm never going to get over this, Those were my kids. I was there to protect those kids.
For Manuel Oliver, who lost his 17-year-old son Joaquin, Peterson failed his family.
I'm going back to my life. That's what he said, which is something that Joaquin will never be able to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the video clip. I want to go over the three things that they emphasized in this video about what he was charged with. It says 7 counts of child neglect, right? 3 counts of culpable negligence, 1 count of perjury. Said the man refused an order to investigate. So he must have called in that there's a shooter, an active shooter, and they said to him, go check it out. No. You got to go in the building Mr. Peters, Officer Peterson, I'm not going in there. I don't know how many people there are. Okay. Okay. And then when arriving officers came that could do something, and he instructed them to stay 500 feet away from the building. That I don't understand. A lot of people in his defense are saying, well, no one knows what they would do in that situation. He's right. You couldn't tell which direction the shots were coming from. I wouldn't have ran up in there. And guess what? That's why you're not a police officer and you're not built for this situation. And there's nothing wrong with that. Guys, I want you to hear me on this. Everybody has fear. There's no such thing as a tough guy with no fear. When I was in prison, there were people getting tattoos. Walton County Jail. Jailhouse tattoos that say no fear. They're getting them on their neck. They're getting them on their arm. Then when they go to court, they come back and cry. Makes no sense. There's no such thing. Everybody has fears in them. But I will say this. There's an old quote that says, a brave man dies. What's it? A coward dies 1,000 deaths. A brave man dies just once. That's what he's dealing with. That's what he's dealing with. When he was at the end of the video, I mean, when you seen him in court crying, whimpering and stuff like that, think about this. It says Peterson faced a lengthy prison sentence had he been convicted of all charges. Hear me on this, including multiple counts of felony child negligence. He also could have lost his $104,000 annual pension. That's why he was crying. That's why he was crying, because he knew his life would have been over if he had got sentenced in it. But I'm going to tell you something. That $104,000, Mr. Peterson, will not fix the cowardice that you'll always be known for. And that's the truth. This man had training. You don't just appoint anybody to go to a school and stand around there and get that cush job. They assign officers according to how they should be performing if the time comes for them to stand up, and he did not do that. That's my issue with him. He did not stand up. He was yellow-bellied, and like the people said, people were dying. Shots were being fired. You didn't even go in there and investigate. I would have gave him more respect if he jumped in the building and looked around and said, okay, well, they're coming from the northwest corner of the building, or they come from the east. I'm proceeding in. You understand what I'm saying? You didn't even try. And that's my thing a lot of times with situations like this. People come with this, woe is me. You got to look at it from my, I was scared. You shouldn't have been a cop. You shouldn't have been a cop. This is a perfect example of somebody taking a job and hoping nothing go wrong while reaping the benefits of those that came before them that died in the line of duty. I don't respect this guy. I don't. I don't. This is a high school. Children were getting killed. How do you sit there and hear shots going off, knowing people is getting tore apart, regardless of what kind of weapon he had, and you sitting outside not doing nothing? Standing by the building, you made yourself a target. If you didn't know where the shots were coming from, why wasn't you standing back there neither? How do you explain that to these people? How do you look at the victim's family that was in that courtroom when they say, oh, you're not guilty of all charges, and you crying? I bet when he was crying, he didn't look at them people, didn't say, I'm sorry. You can't fix that. You can't. This is horrifying to me. That same night, was it last night? He on TV. Did you see the lady talking to him? Did you see the woman's face? Everybody knew it was cowardice. She was like, you didn't do anything. You see her face like, you a bitch. You didn't do nothing. This is the part that makes me mad. I get my life back. They don't. Now, granted, guys, shots were fired before he even entered, but he could have saved at least one or two. If he saved one, he did his job. I did a story about the girl that ran up in the school, the elementary school, and started shooting people up. Them cops ran in there amongst bodies. Quick response, ran right up in there. Now, I don't know if this guy got military experience or not, but I mean, he still has police training. And they didn't train you to stand outside the building and tell everybody to stay back. He'll run out of bullets eventually. That's sickening. The life you got, that you claim you glad you got back, is not the same life you had before. It's not. You get no respect from people. People are smiling in your face and all that stuff, but as soon as you turn your head, they're like, bitch, this dude's a bitch. It's no coming back from this. This will haunt you forever. I can't live like that. I don't know about you guys. I wouldn't be able to live like that. Every time I lay down or every time I express joy or happiness, it's always that thing in the back of your mind that knows that you could have did something to save people when you was in a position to do your job. Whether you wanted to be a hero or not, this is what you signed up for. If every man acted like him, America wouldn't be here. We'd be invaded. A lot of other countries would be invaded. Anytime you're in a war type situation or a situation where you got to stand up to defend those who cannot defend themselves, you got to do it. You have to. For all he know, he could have went in there and shot the shooter. I would have went in there. I know a lot of you are military veterans. Shout out. Y'all would have went in there. That's what we trained to do. Now, regardless if he had military experience or not, he had police training. He called, backup was on the way. You could have went in there and found a shooter. And I mean, he's concentrating on killing people that are unarmed. You had a shot. Just you shooting at him or whoever could have saved somebody's life and gave him time to escape. Just knowing police was in the building. He did none of that. 17 people dead. Did you see the guy at the end? He get to live. My son's not here. He lost his son. Just the simple act of not doing your job. Sometimes people, it affects everybody. A lot of actions we do have reactions out there in the universe that affect a lot of people in a negative way. And all we want is a little bit of something for doing nothing. Now, am I saying he should have ran in there and got killed? No, but he should have ran in there. You hear what I'm saying? I'm Stock Market Steve for the Dynamic Reason channel. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. This is sad.